Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Building the Black Educator Pipeline podcast. I am your host, Shayna Terrell, educator, activist, dedicating her life to that lifelong struggle for freedom and liberation for my people. I want to shout out all my co-conspirators out there watching today and all our new supporters out there watching today. Today is a very exciting today at the Center for Black Educator Development. And why is that? Because today we are launching our national We Need Black Teachers campaign. So this is yet another opportunity for you guys to support us and to co-conspire with us. The goal of our campaign is to bring attention to the need for more Black teachers across the country. The center is committed to recruiting and scaling the number of Black teachers in this country. So we've seen a proven impact that Black teachers have on learning and understanding that teachers in the classroom, when they reflect our students, it holds promise in closing achievement gaps and opportunity gaps for our youth, but especially for our Black youth. So what we want you to do today is definitely visit the center's pages, visit our IG page, our Instagram page, our Twitter page, our Facebook accounts. Please retweet, repost, share, like, and all the other great stuff. But we really would like you to retweet, repost, and hashtag We Need Black Teachers. You can record your own video telling your own story. And the question we're asking folks today is, what is one unique way in which Black teachers have made an impact on your life? So you can post yourself telling the story about a unique impact that a Black teacher has made on your life. But please just hashtag We Need Black Teachers and also tag the center in your posts. Research has proven the direct impact of Black teachers on student and teacher outcomes. Black teachers aren't just good for Black children. Black teachers are good for all children. Having at least one Black teacher in 3rd through 5th grade reduces a Black student's probability of dropping out by just 29%. For very low income Black boys, the results are even greater. Their chances of dropping out falls by 39%. When Black students have 2 Black elementary school teachers, they are 32% more likely to enroll in college. And when white teachers are in schools where at least 30% of the teaching population are Black, they are more likely to engage in culturally responsive practices. So just by the sheer presence of Black teachers, they can make a difference. And right now, our country needs to hire 280,000 new Black teachers. So we need you to partner with us to spread the word today by, again, sharing, liking, creating your own story. Hashtag We Need Black Teachers. And teacher diversity continues to be a national issue. The diversity of the student population in public schools is not reflected by our national teacher force. Unfortunately, this can really result in students not having not one single Black teacher or teacher of color their entire K through 12 experience. And upon deeper reflection, what consequences does that have on our Black children? And we're looking at the state of education in our nation today. What consequences does that have for our nation as a whole with the lack of Black teachers? What consequences does that have on our society? Nationally, about 15% of students make up the public school population, with only 7% of teachers identifying as Black in the public school population. So this is an urgent matter. We need attention on this now. So please share, like, retweet, comment, hashtag We Need Black Teachers. And major shout out to all our funders who are brave enough, courageous enough to fund this work and saw the urgency in what we were doing. So we want to really give out a thank you to Laura and Gary at the Lauder Foundation, Venture Philanthropy Fund, Charles and Linda Schusterman Family Philanthropies, Education Leaderships of Color, Walton Family Foundation, Springpoint LLC, and the Mora Fund Incorporated. All of those folks who were brave enough and bold enough to fund the center and really support our campaign, hashtag We Need Black Teachers. So my first guest that we are bringing out today, you all know him. He's the mastermind behind all of our work, the pusher, the driver, the man, really helping us do this. Sharif El-Mekki. Sharif is the founder and CEO of the Center for Black Educator Development, my boss. Yes, Prior to founding the center, El-Mekki served as a nationally recognized principal and the U.S. Department of Education Principal Ambassador Fellow. His school, our school, Mastery Charter Shoemaker, was recognized by President Obama and Oprah Winfrey and was awarded a prestigious EPIC Award for 3 consecutive years as being amongst the top 3 schools in the country for accelerating student achievement levels. The Shoemaker campus was also recognized as one of the top 10 middle schools and top 10 high schools in the state of Pennsylvania for accelerating the achievement levels of African American students. In 2014, El-Mekki founded the Fellowship, Black Male Educators for Social Justice, an organization dedicated to recruiting, retaining, and developing Black male teachers. El-Mekki blogs on Philly 7th Ward and is a member of 8 Black Hands podcasts and serves on several boards and committees focused on educational and racial justice. So everybody, please join me in welcoming Mr. Sharif El-Mekki.
Hey, glad to be back. What are you doing reading all that? That's too long.
Listen, people need to know who you are, where you've been, and where you're going, sir. Okay? That people got to know.
I feel you. It's great. It's great to be back. Really excited about the community that you guys are building with this show. So it's been fantastic to watch, and I watch every single episode, and so it's been great to view, to learn, and enjoy. So thank you.
Shout out to you, loyal fan. We appreciate you.
Most depth, loyal fanhood. Love it.
Yes, co-conspirators out there. So today is an exciting day for us at the center. I think when we launched in 2019, I mean, we had so many hopes and dreams, but to launch a national campaign, did you foresee this?
No, not originally, but I think one thing that's been true and consistent is the engagement with the youth and elevating their voices and providing platforms for them to share their ideas. And so I think that has been a common thread, right? Whether it's working in a high school or using Freedom School Literacy Academy, which is paid teacher apprenticeship with high school youth, with students matriculating through college, that's been a consistent aspect of the work. And so I think this is a new iteration of that, on the social media and this platform, and being able to engage with partners. And as you said earlier in your intro, there are a lot of folks who are interested in diversification and what does that mean for racial and educational justice. So yeah, our youth are activists, right? And so this is a youth-led campaign can be a form of activism. And I think that's how our students approached it.
And what do you think is the importance or the significance of young people being involved in this movement to recruit more Black teachers?
Yeah, I think they are a driving force. I think too often they're not looked at as part of the solution, that their ideas are not mature enough and formed enough, but they have experiences and they're experts in their lived experiences. And so I think that's a big part of it. Another thing is there's a saying out there that, some of your most important contributions to the universe may not be what you do. It may be about who you raised and who you supported, right? And so if we're participating as part of the community of raising these Black youth, it's really their impact that we're all going to feel, right? And so I think that's another part. They have ideas. Who better to talk about their experiences in school than students, right? So just to ignore that would be a foolhardy.
I agree 100%. And for folks out there, this campaign that we're launching was crafted by youth. So
don't put Ankram's comments up. But go ahead. See, we try to be serious.
He busted on you one time.
Yeah, he talking like a pop. You know what I mean? My earphones, bro.
Baba Sharif in the building. But this campaign that we launched, guys, was crafted by youth. Youth actually created the hashtag. They voted on the logo as their messaging. They had a bunch of creative control, even on the pictures and the slogans and all the graphics that you guys are going to see today. So this campaign is youth driven. So all the hashtags, all the information out there, our young people are the ones who work together as a collective group to select this information.
Yeah.
And the reason why that's so important, because this campaign is targeted at the youth, because we want young people to understand that they are next up, and their time is now and their time is here to be involved in what we have going on. And that is hashtag we need Black teachers. So become a Black teacher for sure.
Yeah, and sometimes and often we can, the students are the teachers, and I think some of the things that I learned from them was one, they're like, yeah, we want to do this campaign and don't make it gimmicky. And because in the back of my head, I thought, well, if it's high school youth, it has to be something gimmick. Somebody needs to do some dances or cartwheels or, some kind of stunt. And they're like, nah, we don't want gimmicky. Like, give us the facts, give us the data, let us make our decision. Just inform us, provide the information, but don't kind of minimize our intellectual rigor, our intellectual thought process. Right. And I really, really respected that. And then on the other side, they were like, and y'all ain't serious if you're not on TikTok. Right. We're just like, oh, for real? We're just like, we can't use Facebook. They're like, nah, if you're talking to us, you have to do it on the mediums that we tend to use. And then the third thing that I learned from them was that I thought TikTok was just entertainment stuff, right? Like, people doing little, weird stuff and dance. Yeah, I thought it was just dance moves, right? And they're like, no, we learn a lot. We get a lot of information. We learn about science and how to solve math problems and all kind of things. I was like, for real? So those are three just, distinct but connected lessons that they taught me personally through this campaign.
Oh, I would agree. When those young people said, no, this is a serious matter and we're not playing no games, we're not putting no dances and no songs around this. Like we're going to be direct. We need Black teachers. I think that's what y'all saying we need. We need that. So we're going to tell the people
that's the hashtag,
what we need.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're like, don't beat around the bush. They're like, you don't have to be all creative and nuanced. Like, no, be direct. This is what we need. This is what we want. And this is what we deserve.
And tell the people that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I appreciated that. I was like, okay, all right. Like the future is in good hands,
Yes, it's in great hands. And again, like young people we had, these weren't people that we had to go through some rigorous process to get in and be a part of what we had going on. Like these were just our junior servant leaders who were leading and serving this summer. So to have them lead the way for this, it was amazing for me. And I was really proud to see how this came out. Super proud of them. And I think what they also helped me realize in seeing how they put together this campaign, like how you figure, TikTok was for dancing and for weird stuff. That's what's commercialized and, so to speak, monetized. But our young people are hungry for some intellect, right? They are hungry to be a part of, meaningful and pivotal movements. They want that. So very exciting. They definitely made us proud.
Yeah. It's, they're already teaching, right? They're already teaching.
They taught us. They definitely taught us. So one of the things that we're asking people with today's campaign, the question we're asking people to actually like post themselves, tell a story about this, is what is one unique way in which a Black teacher has made an impact on your life? So you can share that with us live right now as a great example.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a lot of folks will be like, "Oh yeah, I had that one Black teacher." Like, I had all Black teachers all through elementary school, right? And they were all phenomenal. But I think if it's one thing that if I had to center one thing that experience had on me as a student was me being grounded in my community, feeling a deep connection, fostering love of community. So I think even when, that process of me going through trauma at the hand of someone that looked like me, right? So going through that kind of trauma as a recent college graduate, but still looking at it as opportunity to, lean in even more, right? And going deeper into my community through teaching by leading a classroom. I think those seeds were planted by my teachers who were Black, who were proud of us, and they were just committed to community. And so that would be the other thing, that commitment to community, that love, that feeling accountable and responsible for, for communities, which schools are, right? Schools are communities. And so I think those were also seeds that just continue to flourish and continue to chase, those memories, right? And I'm just like, everybody deserves an experience like Nathal Musasa. And I realized, as I got older, I realized the distinct privilege it was to be able to attend a school full of just amazing, dope Black educators, and I wish that for every child, deserves that. And I realize that that's not the norm. By far, it's not the norm. It's abnormal, actually, unfortunately.
It is. So we also have some partners who have already been sharing. Folks started sharing and posting their experiences yesterday, which we're excited about.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to Arcadia University and their SAGE program. A few of their SAGE folks got together and did a video.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so we would love to show this to folks, definitely as an example of what you can post and share today at the launch of our campaign.
We need Black teachers.
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 My first Black teacher wasn't until 8th grade.
My 5th grade teacher named Mr. Brooks.
My senior year English teacher for AP Lit.
I had my first Black teacher when I was in 6th grade. Her name was Miss Hinton. My one teacher, her name was Miss Gibson.
And he made my story matter.
He helped me gain confidence, not shy away from speaking my mind, and so always voice my opinion.
Where I felt like I got to know both my instructor and myself as a reader.
She came up to me and she said, "I'm gonna be watching you." Just that interaction, seeing someone that looked like me and someone that was, actually saying she was gonna watch me, that meant to me, it meant like she was gonna watch over me. And that was something that was really important to me. And I loved her class.
And after having her as my teacher, it just really made me want to be an educator, because I never realized how important it is for teachers, to actually be caring.
And that's why I really wanted to go into education, to be that change.
And so for me to help them understand that you're not like everybody else. I would want to help them understand that you always will learn on your pace and that you're not on someone else's pace.
And I can show other kids in the world that you can do a lot with your mind too.
But I never had a teacher who cares so much about my personal development. So Miss Hinton, thank you so much, girl.
We need Black teachers.
Yes, dope, amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Voice.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. And particularly the one young lady who talked about a teacher said, "You know what, I'll be watching over you." And I thought about that. I'm like, how many Black students actually have that same phrase, but with a different mindset of the adult that's delivering it? It's kind of like, I'm watching you because I'm going to police you. I don't trust you. I don't even like you, right? And how many of them hear that? Where she described that as you know what? This person saw me. They're looking out for me. They love me and they want my success, And so how even the phrase, right? It all boils down to mindset of an educator. And their interactions, will inform. No matter what their mouth says, their actions will really describe what's their mindset about their child, about their child's communities, and so forth. So that was a powerful video. I loved it.
Yes, and the point that you're making is do you feel love or do you feel fear, right? When somebody says that, and that love and that comfort that the young lady got with "I'll be watching over," was "Oh, she got my back.
She got my back." You know what I mean? And and how much bolder and inspired can you be if you know somebody has my back? Right? How powerful that can be for a student. And how many students feel isolated, insecure, unseen, unheard, unloved, and othered in so many different ways, right? Across 13 years, across 180, 200 days of the year, over and over and over again. At what point do you just build walls up to protect yourself, your own, just your own mental and spiritual and cultural health? But what does it mean on the opposite, on the flip side of that? It could be powerful. It could be a rocket ship for trajectories.
And people don't understand how just by the sheer love, kindness, and support of a kid, the potential that you can unlock. But I wonder, especially when we were doing this campaign, why are young Black students often left out of the conversation of future educators? They're not brought in and exposed to the field, but they're not even brought in and their opinion shared on the kind of people who are placed in front of them. Why are they often left out of the conversations?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of it is the consistency of white supremacy. You know, if Black educators, adults, professionals who have the lived experience, they have the technical expertise to build relationships, know communities. If their voices and experiences aren't respected, then how is the miniature version of that human being, a younger version of that human being, going to be respected, right? And so I think it's this, it's a continuation of the same constricted mindset about value, about what people have to offer, about, you know, like what does it mean to be a full human being, a full citizen, a full learner, a full participant, right? And so if that's marginalized or constricted at every different level across the board, then that means that that's going to naturally, unfortunately, which is I think an unnatural circumstance to be in, but it's natural in a white supremacist framework to be muted as a student, you know, to not be brought to the table, to not be looked at as insightful, as powerful, because the adult version of you, we don't look at them like that. So why would we look at you like that? But if you love that community, then you're going to love every aspect of it. If it's a baby, if it's a child, if it's a young adult, it's the adult version, right? Like there's affinity, and you know the brilliance that's already there, right? You know that they have these expectations and these aspirations, and they have value and they have insight, right? That's a different framework. That's a different pedagogical framework. That's a different intellectual framework. It's a different way of thinking that can inform actions.
Love that. Just love that. So for our folks that are watching us today, that are out there today, we hopefully have some youth watching the show today. But for our adults and our current educators, how can they partner with us in this campaign? What can they do?
Yeah, so I think of multiple things. One, I hope you participate in everything that we're doing, and it's not just a one-day campaign. Today is our launch, but we hope that you remain engaged in this work. I hope that you continue to help inform us. We're a learning organization. We want to be learners. We're lead learners in some spaces, and we're other type of learners in other spaces where we take the back end, like in this campaign. We had to learn from the folks who were taking the lead, which were the youth. So please stay engaged. Use the hashtag. We have a splash page, we need blackteachers.com. You can always visit our website, but please share your experiences. That will help inform not only the campaign, but other people who have an interest in the racial and educational justice that this campaign is highlighting. So yeah, looking forward to it. And again, please at least have conversations. We're going to support our Black youth in whatever it is that they want to do. But too many of them say that education wasn't even brought up in conversations with their in college and career counselor's office, in their teachers' classrooms, or at their dining room tables. So let's at least elevate these conversations. And like what Dr. Martin Ryder told me a long time ago, purest form of activism is teaching Black children well. So we have activists out in these communities, so at least broach the conversation.
I hear that. Yes, shout out to you. Well, we are going to cut you loose, like no, but
I get to cut X. No, I appreciate thanks for inviting me back on. I'm always grateful to be a participant, and as you said, lifelong fanhood is I'm part of that club. So thank you all, and you guys are in for a treat with Mimi Woldeyohannes coming on next. So really grateful.
Yes. So any last words before we before you have to part from us that you want to say out to the people?
Yeah, all I would say is we are continuing to look to build, and our partnerships, our focus is a national Black teacher pipeline. And what does that look like? What does it mean to inform it? What does it mean to support it? What does it mean for it to be sustainable and supportive all the way through, from the very beginning as a high school student through the end of the first 4 years of teaching? So for us, this Black teacher pipeline is a 12-year journey. And our youth, our students, as well as once they become teachers, are absolutely crucial. So thank you all for participating, whether you supported our Freedom Schools Literacy Academy, whether you supported in donations, whether you supported in tweeting out hashtag. We're grateful. Like, we can't do this without being in community with others. And we definitely feel like we have an amazing community. So thanks again.
Yes, shout out. Thank you, brother Sharif, for joining us today, our fearless leader and our CEO, who is leading the charge on our national campaign, hashtag We Need Black Teachers. Our next guest comes to the stage. Miss Mimi Woldeyohannes is an educator and educational justice advocate with over 8 years of experience working in the classroom and in nonprofit sector. She believes in the power of community-led social change and coalition building as a primary mechanism of transforming our educational systems to make them more just and equitable for all students. In her current role as Director of Strategic Partnerships at the Center for Black Educator Development, that's right, my colleague, she is responsible for developing and executing highly strategic, innovative, and collaborative plans to engage a coalition of partner organizations to build the Black Teacher Pipeline model for Black students across the country. She also spearheads the Teaching for Social Justice high school campaign, which is the We Need Black Teachers campaign that encourages future educators to engage in the exploration of the education field. Prior to working at the center, Mimi was a special projects and community manager at the 74, a nonpartisan nonprofit education media group where she worked on priorities from live events to partnerships to expanding portfolios initiatives that connect with different communities across the country. In addition to some existing projects, she managed a dynamic partnership between 74 and award-winning journalist and education activist Ronald Martin, and worked closely with Ronald and his team on the event production, coalition building, and audience engagement initiatives connected to School Choice is Black Choice Media Tour. So Mimi been in this game, y'all, for a minute. Mimi's passion for education, policy, and advocacy stems from her Teach for America experience teaching 4th and 5th grade math and science in San Antonio, Texas. After spending 2 years in traditional public schools, she moved back to her hometown of Dallas to teach 5th grade science at KIPP DFW, a college preparatory charter inside the classroom. She quickly learned the inequities and disparities in education system and has since dedicated her life to ensuring that every child has access to excellent, equitable education opportunities. Mimi is an alumni of American University, where she earned her master's degree in public administration and holds her bachelor's degree in political science and minor in women's studies from Texas Christian University. Mimi is a member of the illustrious Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and serves on multiple boards, including New Leaders Council, the DC chapter, and Learn ABI. So please welcome my colleague with all the stuff that she's been out here doing and blessed us at the center with her presence, her talents. Mimi, welcome aboard, girl.
Thank you for that warm welcome.
Yes, reading your bio, child. You know, I was out of breath out here in these streets because
I felt like you were. I was like, I really should have just sent her a condensed version. My bad. But thank you for the formal intro. And sis, I can't thank you enough for all that you do at the center and all that you do on the show as well.
Oh, we thank you. Like, again, I'm not playing when I say that I'm hyped that you decided to bring your talent to the center. You've been
and then we get to like tag team together to actually make some magic happen too.
I know that's right. My colleague, y'all, Mimi, is in the building.
Yeah.
So Mimi, shout out to you for launching these efforts with our national We Need Black Teachers campaign. How has it been for you? Like, this is like your first major project, right? Coming aboard with the center.
Yes, first major project. It's been exciting. I think fulfilling, incredible. I don't even know. Like, I don't think there are enough words to truly describe it. And I'm not just saying that, but I think the most beautiful aspect of this campaign, like Sharif mentioned earlier, is that it was student driven. I think a lot of times when we do have these conversations related to the education field, students are left out. And I think it's about time that we change that narrative and really think about how we can incorporate their voices in a meaningful way, not just inviting them to the table, but actually having a voice and actually making decisions and driving the change that they're looking to see. So that was incredible work, being able to work, even if it was an indirect way. But I think it was just a beautiful experience to see their voices be represented in this manner.
Yes. And David, yes, shout out. My girl Mimi is Ethiopian. Yep.
Yes, you already know that last name.
Yes, he's like beautiful name. That's supposed to be Ethiopia. Yes. And I'm bringing it out because she
Thank you.
represents her Ethiopian heritage loud and proud always. So
Listen, Black is not a monolith, and we make that
hello.
known at the center. And we make that known in the education space too. That's why we need more Black educators to represent the diversity of Blackness in our classrooms too, which I'll talk about more later.
Girl, we can talk about that right now. We can talk about Black
Let's
not
do
being
it.
a monolith and why that's super important to lift up what you just said.
Yeah,
Because
I
folks
want
would,
to go ahead.
I was gonna say because folks would say like, "Oh, that sister's Ethiopian," and as I told you previously, I have my best friend is Ethiopian, but she identifies as Black, right? Which some people find strange, like, "Girl, you Ethiopian." So I would love to hear your take on when we're talking about Black not a monolith, a teacher diversity, and what that means, even diversity in Black people, and why we need Black teachers.
Yeah, I mean, just for the record, I do identify as Black, but I identify as a Black diaspora. So I know that I got to represent my ancestors loud and proud. As a member of the Ethiopian diaspora community, I'm also an American, so I have to identify with both. But I will say my experience when thinking about the question that was presented in this campaign about one unique way that a Black educator has impacted me, I think about my teacher who, this was my middle school teacher. So I was blessed to have Black educators across my K through higher ed experience. And I know a lot of people can't relate, and I'm sorry, and we got to change that. But my middle school experience, I had a 7th grade Algebra 1 teacher who was a Black male. His name is Mr. Olateju. He is Nigerian, and we call him Mr. O. But I related to him in a lot of ways, primarily because I just love the way that he was so authentic and unapologetic about not only his Blackness, but also his like African heritage. It was something that he brought into his classroom on a daily basis, and he made it known. He was also a huge fan of like Bob Marley and like the reggae Rastafarian culture too, but he made it known that Black is not a monolith. I didn't understand that at a young age, but I continued to see traces of that throughout my educational experiences, and I also lived that as a teacher myself. And he really changed the narrative for me about what it means to be seen as a member of the Black diaspora, like who may not necessarily always be able to relate to Black experiences, Black American experiences, but still be able to teach and reach young Black kids, not only like myself, but many others that till this day, we still have a relationship with him. Like he's always commenting on social media, trying to see what we're up to and just wishing us happy birthdays. And it's just beautiful to see that relationship continue to flourish. But I think one thing I remember was that he was so tough on us. Like he had the highest expectations. I remember he used to say wild things to us that were like, man, that's so harsh, but that made us work harder. That made us compete even harder. And we're just like, Black teachers hold these high expectations for not just their Black students, but for all students. And that's one thing I'll never forget.
Dope. Mimi, thank you for sharing that unique experience. And again, everybody that's out there supporting, watching, sharing, and commenting, we ask you to please participate in this day of action by posting your own story and hashtagging We Need Black Teachers and tagging the center. Right now, we'd love to show that we have hundreds of people already posting and doing their thing right now, supporting the campaign. So we're going to cue up that graphic so you guys can see all of the things that are going on out there. Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, IG. Folks are posting. So please, if you don't have the graphic, get to the center. Pages, grab the graphics, share, like, and repost and hashtag We Need Black Teachers. Or again, just share your own story about one unique way a Black teacher has impacted your life. And hashtag it with We Need Black Teachers. So much appreciation. Get out there, spread the word on why we need Black teachers.
Yes, please do. Share your stories.
And Mimi, now that you've done a lot of work with school choice, education, and you've been in the education field and even been as a teacher. Doing this campaign, what it really brought to me and made me think about was, do you think that sometimes the marketing of the teacher profession is intentionally not marketed to Black children? Do you think that they are intentionally left out of that conversation?
Oh, 100%, yes. Reasons for, that Sharif mentioned earlier too, is just a lot of the profession continues to be focused around hiring more and more white women specifically. It's 80% white.
Yes.
When we think about, like why that may be, is because we're not having these conversations with our young scholars about, what it could look like for them to be an educator. Like I remember when I was in 4th grade, my teacher, I told her, she's a white woman, I told her I wanted to be a teacher. She's like, don't do it. We don't get paid enough. Right? Like, she may have not realized the impact that one little statement had made, but lo and behold, I still did it anyways. But my rationale was, I knew it was a form of activism. I knew that I wanted to impact the next couple of generations in a positive way by instilling my love for social justice in them as much as I could through instruction, right? But I just know that a lot of the messages that our young people are being told right now is teachers don't get paid enough, or the culture here is, you're probably not going to like it in the classroom. You probably have to do X, Y, and Z to be a teacher. And you're just not, like, this isn't something you want to do. Like, they make it seem as if it's an inconvenient burden, where it's not. It's the opposite. You have so much flexibility. You can show up as your true self. You can push for change in your school and in the larger system. There's a lot of potential that I don't think is being messaged. And instead, it's discouraging remarks specifically towards our Black and brown students that, of course, no wonder when they're, looking for jobs after college, education happens to be at the very, very bottom, like last
Very
resort.
Yeah. And the benefits, right, aren't told. And even
Absolutely
that,
not.
what that teacher said to you, a lot of the work that we're doing here at the center is dispelling those myths.
Yes.
We don't make enough. What does that necessarily mean? You can still do very well by being a teacher. No, you don't have a doctor or a lawyer's salary, but it's still a very noble profession. Teaching is activism, and the impact that you can have on children, the impact you have on building up this next generation through teaching is amazing. What I would also love to do right now is just share a post from one of our people out there, one of our partners in this campaign, Fighting the Good Fight, Teach for America. Just shouting them out because, they do a lot of work across the country with promoting teachers. And in more recent years, they've put some of the focus. I don't think that's TFA. Is that them? They put more of a focus on, trying to recruit and focus more on Black teachers. They also shout out the fact that there are only 7% of folks out here that are identifying as teachers of color in a public teaching profession. So one of their one of their graphics today really highlighted that and shouted that out. But Josh, this is a video. Let's get it.
So I didn't have my first Black teacher until I was in college. I was a first generation college student, and Mr. Mercer encouraged me to continue my education and go to graduate school. And I probably wouldn't have gone if it wasn't for him. So I didn't have.
That's real.
That's super real.
And I love that she shared that. I mean, you're right. Like, we have Black teachers in the classroom who are pushing students to go beyond, what was already expected of them. It's like, no, you can do this. Go get your master's. Go get your PhD. Why not? And they tell you, like, we don't have enough Black people with PhDs. So I think that in itself is a very encouraging message. Like, just don't stop at a bachelor's degree.
Oh, 100%. And I think that we talk about this a lot on a different series of shows here. That's the impact that you as a teacher have on the minds of young Black children. And we always say, it's so cliche, but we definitely say it, right? You can't be what you can't see.
Exactly.
So if young Black people don't see themselves in those positions of teaching or position of an educator, how would they know that that's a profession that they should be in, or that they can do, that they should strive to do? I mean, so hashtag we need Black teachers.
One of my mantras when I was that I continue to abide by. I don't remember where I saw it, but it was be who you needed when you were younger. And I know that some people in the education space, specifically in the Black education space, tried to reframe it and say like something along the lines of be the educator that you knew you needed. And I
Yes.
think that's the exact way we need to be looking at this right now, at this campaign, at our work, because we know that we may have not had enough educators that look like us, enough educators that were both windows and mirrors, right? Like we knew that we had to go to school, so we can get a job. It was never like go to school so you can actually be a teacher. It's like just get a job, do something that's gonna pay you well, and keep it moving. But it's like, why not continue to encourage people to say you can actually be a teacher, you can get paid. It may not be the salary that like an engineer might be making, but you're still getting paid. That security is still there. And I think we can continue to move like policies around teacher salary. Like that's a conversation we can have simultaneously. And I heard from one of my friends today, was like, but teachers don't get paid enough. Why would I encourage them? I'm like, we can change policies simultaneously. It's not a either or, it's a both and. So like we have to still move to have more educators that look like us in the classroom.
Yes. So what's crazy about that, when people say, oh, people don't get paid enough, and it's definitely a dual conversation on the policy side, pushing, because we've had this conversation, I've had this in many spaces about the value of a teacher, right? People place monetary value on like the things that they value. And we know that America is a capitalist society, so they put money into what folks value, right? But when you look at the impact that a teacher has on building the citizens of this country, the next generation of young minds, but again, the next generation of just the workers to keep the country going, there's going to come a push where you have to put value and a monetary value on teachers. Like right now, we know it's a crazy teacher shortage, and people are not going into the field. And it is currently dominated by white women. But what happens when there's no one to dominate the field? That's going
to be. And the conversation ends there, though. It's like there's a teacher shortage, and people they're like, "Oh, okay, well." I was like, so what are we going to do about that? And who are we going to start recruiting? And who are we going to start talking about retention efforts with? Because it's one thing to recruit them, which is what obviously our campaign is about, raising awareness and recruiting people to more young Black students to enter our pipeline. But we're having those conversations around retention simultaneously too. So don't get it twisted. The work at the center is about supporting Black teachers while they're in the classroom, supporting Black leaders who are leading schools and school districts too, to ensure that the quality of their schools and the culture of their schools is at a level where Black teachers can feel like they're being culturally sustained and affirmed and valued in a meaningful way.
Most definitely. And again, you hit it right on the head. But we talk about this to recruitment. A part of your recruitment plan has to be a retention plan. They can't be separate from one another. So once you get people in the door, what is the work that we're going to do to sustain people? So for somebody like Joy, whose mama taught for 32 years, right?
Wow. Bless her. That's amazing.
32 years. So how do we sustain people into this profession to where they want to stay? They feel validated, they feel worth something, and they matter. And then that further makes this campaign or makes this profession attractive to young people. Like, ooh, I want to be a teacher because of this. I want to be a professional where I feel heard. I don't want to be stressed, anxious. Again, teaching is hard enough. So how can these districts work to invest in these teachers?
Right.
But in doing this campaign, that's another reflection that I had. And in doing the work that I do every day for the center. Why don't districts invest in their own students? Your pipeline to teachers is sitting right in the classrooms, right in front of you, Why don't districts invest? When I'm doing partner work, everybody's like, you got teachers for me right now? Do y'all have teachers? Do y'all have somebody coming out? You got college seniors? Well, where are they going to teach after this? And I'm like, well, hey, that's great. I do have a few, but let's talk about the hundreds of kids you have sitting in your building right now. And let's talk about Liberation Academy, our educator pathway program that connects teaching to social justice. Like, can we have that conversation?
Right.
Yeah. But the investment or the excitement is so much lower in talking about those things than they are about, again, investing in their own population right there and starting to build their pipeline so that talking 5-10 years from now, you don't have to worry about a teacher shortage.
Exactly. I mean, but also that takes a very proactive and intentional effort, right? Like if that's not something you want to prioritize right now, you're going to unfortunately reap those repercussions down the line when you're struggling trying to fill these vacancies in the classrooms.
Most definitely. But and I get it, right? Like, it's like you got a hole in the boat and the water's coming in right now. So what is the fastest way? But we all know you can keep plugging holes, but eventually you're going to have to build a new boat.
Yes.
And when,
Yes.
and when you going to swim ashore and take that time to go ahead and just build a new boat, right? Like, when can that happen? I want to take
Absolutely.
the time right now just to shout out some of our folks who have been posting. We have Stokely's official page has posted. Take a look, y'all.
Yes.
We have some heavy hitters out there spreading the word for the campaign. We need Black teachers. So again, we need all of you guys to get out there, post your stories about the unique impact of Black teachers on you, or post some of our graphics and share, like, post. We need Black teachers. So please get out there. Again, another example of what you can do to support the launch of our campaign today.
I'm here for these graphics, like showing like the throwback pictures of their teachers too.
Of their teachers.
I want to see more of that. I need to go ahead and make sure I post one too.
You definitely should. I saw a couple today. I'm like, oh my God, look at you back in kindergarten with your
It's
teacher.
perfect. It's Throwback Thursday too, so it works.
Yes. And for me, I don't think I share enough on this show just about the diverse set of teachers I had. I mean, I did go to parochial school, but I went to parochial school right across the street from our project. So like most people know, I shout it out every week. I'm from the South Bronx. Yeah. So across
She gonna make it know one way or another.
From the South Bronx, shout out. But I grew up at St. Mary's Projects in the South Bronx. So right across the street was another project, John Adams Project Housing. And there was a little parish, St. Anselm's Parish, right inside the project housing. So they had mass, they had church, but then they also ran a school. So I went to school right across the street from where I lived. The great thing about that were the teachers that were in there. We had diverse. I had Black, I had white, I had Hispanic. The majority of my teachers coming up were Hispanic women. By the time I got to middle school, it was Hispanic and Black. And I was really appreciative of that, because a couple of my teachers also lived in my neighborhood. I had one teacher that lived in the same building as I did. Because
that's awesome.
She did
too close for comfort, but hey.
Even closer detail, she actually was my sister's, my second oldest sister's godmother. But that is because the families in my neighborhood, though we were project housing, the families moved there in the early 70s. They were working class families before projects got such, a rough name, or HUD took over and things like that. But these families grew up together. So my teacher had grew up in my neighborhood and grew up with my family and grew up with the families that she was teaching, and her nieces and nephews and everybody. We all grew up in the same spaces. So that was amazing. And I had tons of unique experiences. I always tell a story about my first teacher. Well, my kindergarten teacher. My first teacher was my pre-K teacher, but my first teacher was my mom. Shout out to my mom and dad. But we're talking about formal school. Shout out to them. My mom watching right now. Love you, Mom. But in my formal schooling, I had Miss Sylvia Lugo. Shout out to Miss Sylvia Lugo, who was a Hispanic woman who forever branded in me the love for school. But that was because, and I tell people this so much, how she loved up on us and nurtured us so much. And I mean, it was bad. When that lady was absent, I used to cry. That's how much I loved my teacher. Oh. But she gave me, I dead used to cry.
That's love right there. I was like, I don't know if I ever cried about teaching.
Cried because this woman was absent and they had a sub. They would have to call my mom. I was distraught, like, is Lugo not there? But that impression that she left upon me, and the students in that class, to know that, like, in school, this is a place where you should be loved and you should be nurtured. And I would argue to say that when you have more Black teachers, they bring that to communities that they are part of, because you love where you're from, and you love your community. So I definitely would dare to say that.
And they model that for students too, because one thing I remember when I was in the classroom, so when I was teaching in San Antonio, there were a lot of messages that were being relayed to our students about, get your education and leave, right? And that was very concerning for me, because I'm like, what do you mean leave? Like, who's going to come back and help transform these communities? So if it's not going to be the students, it's definitely going to be somebody else that does not look like this community. Like, let's think about that. So we would try and think about like the teachers that were in our building. They lived in those communities, especially the veteran teachers, right? These are the OGs that knew everybody's mama and everybody's grandparents. Like they were very immersed in a meaningful way, not just like I live here, but like, you know, shop at the grocery stores, went to the same churches. And I try to follow suit. I was like, I need to go ahead and be where my students are at and think about, well, like, how can we convince them to come back? Like, yes, go to school, like live your life. You can go elsewhere if you want, but come back and invest in your community in a meaningful way. And if that means that you're coming back to teach in your schools, even better, right? But those are also the messages we have to be mindful of that we're telling our youth. Like, someone has to come back and change what needs to be changed. And it should be you, but if it's not, trust and believe it's going to be someone else.
It's going to be someone else. It definitely is.
Yeah,
it definitely is. And though I didn't go back to the South Bronx, one of the things I did do is when I got to Pennsylvania, I sought out hoods that looked like mine. I sought out people, I sought out children that looked exactly like me and wanted to do work in those neighborhoods. My college friends used to tease me, girl, you addicted to the ghetto. I am. I love my people. I feel comfortable around my people. I love doing work.
Yeah.
And it's my job, right? It's our job. This is why we need more Black teachers. So to the young people out there watching, like, it is our job to build the next generation, just like somebody's pouring and building into you. Because if we don't, then what? And one of the questions I always ponder, and I would love for you to weigh in on this, like, have we failed this generation? And if so, like, how do we right those wrongs? Like, how do we? And I mean, I know that's a broad question, right? When you say like fail, right? Because there's some great things, but it's our responsibility. Do you think that we have done enough to prepare this next generation to kind of take the reins and lead? Are we doing the right things? Replacements?
That's a heavy question. I think it's like a yes and no. Like, yeah, I think there are ways that we failed our next generation, but then there are some ways that we've also helped them, be set up for success. And one of the ways I think that we failed, and I mentioned this earlier, is just the messages that we're telling our young students, even the messages that were told to us when we were young, right? Like, I remember just thinking about the professions that I was allowed to go into as an African woman. It was a doctor, it was a lawyer, or an engineer. Those were the three professions that are allowed. And I'm sure all my African brothers and sisters can vouch. But when I told my parents I wanted to become a teacher, they're like, oh, you're just volunteering for a few years, right? Like, this isn't going to be a lifelong career. And I'm just like, you don't even respect it as a career, let alone understand why I'm doing it. And as much as I try to explain what it is, I know a lot of people can relate, but I think it's those messages that are being told to us by our role models, but whether it's our parents or celebrities or, teachers, anyone that we're coming into contact with at a very young age, we have to be mindful of, like, what should we be taking away from what our role models are saying? Are they showing us the positive things about who we should become and what we should pursue? Or, why are these the messages that are being told, right? And I think that's where we failed our future generations, because we haven't shown them that education is a form of activism, right? They're so interested in social justice efforts. They want to get involved in climate change protests and BLM efforts, and I'm here for it, right? But I'm also like, well, think about your role as an educator is a form of activism, whether you want to admit it or not. And I think that's part of the narrative that we're trying to get out there, and thinking about how we can reframe this conversation around education equity and educational justice.
Shout out. And I want to shout out just in the comments, Reparations, who've been rocking with us all day. And
I see.
All show, like, just really in the mix. So shout out to you for supporting us and really engaging with us today.
Can you answer the question though? I want to hear your response.
Have we failed our generation? I definitely think that it's a complicated question, right? That's why I wanted to ask it, because I want folks to weigh in. I don't necessarily think that we have failed them, but I agree with you on we haven't really been great examples of showing them the way. I think that we allow our young people to become slaves to, I'm trying to find a better word than false gods, but false idols. So people that they shouldn't be following. letting social media celebrities become the examples and the role models for our children, and not even in ways holding those folks accountable and helping them understand the responsibility they have. Like, it's okay to be entertainment, it's okay to have your craft, but I think that there's a fine line in being in reality versus in being in fantasy. We are dealing with a real serious reality that our children are facing, right? Long after we're gone, the things that they're going to have to deal with in this world if they don't wake up and get it together. Yeah. I think that what's lacking in a lot of forms of youth culture is political education. Like you said, young people want to be involved, but I think that if we did a better job of helping them understand the issues, that the complex issues that they're facing, and the right ways to organize around it, I think that we have created a culture of what we call performative kind of resistance and performative protest, whereas young people see just marching or protesting as a form of activism and not really the collective organizing that's needed to happen to really spark a revolution. So it's nothing wrong with marching. It's nothing wrong with standing in and protesting, but then what's next, right? So people did protests or stand-ins and all that, sit-ins to disrupt business, right? The way to hit people was in the pockets, right? Or we boycott certain things, or we boycott certain people, or boycott certain things, right? To hit people in the pockets. We're not just walking the walk to like, oh, we just gonna march out here. Or sometimes, especially when we talk about the civil rights movement, the nonviolent movement, it was strategic to walk in places that you knew you was going to get beat down. That was the point. We're going here knowing we're going to get beat up, and it's going to get televised, and people will see this, right? So it was really strategic points. Martin Luther King wasn't out here just to walk because he felt like an exercise child. Like, he was walking with a purpose and with a movement. So I think that helping our young people understand these movements, even when you talk about the brothers and sisters in the Panthers and how they were politicized in the media as being these like violent criminals, when no, they were just protecting their own. When police were going around beating up people, we're here with guns because we're protecting ourselves and our people, and we have a right to bear arms. Please, you want to talk about the RFA?
Let them know. Let them know.
Fight for the Second Amendment rights. That's all the party was doing, was protecting their rights. But I think that if we educate our young people a lot more on what really was the basis and the essence of these political movements, I think that we would have a greater generation, because they have the energy, they have the spark, they are ready to go, they are ready to fight. But being in a K through 12 education where you're indoctrinated to be American and you're told lies, I think that is the failure of this generation, which is why we need more Black teachers, because Black teachers tell the truth. Black teachers fight racism through education. That is why we need more Black teachers. So that's probably the answer.
Mic drop. Period.
That's probably the answer to my question on have we failed? We haven't completely failed, but I think that there's more work for us to do with our young people to be able to be fighters in this generation. Mimi, we are about to come to a close. I would like you, though, to say some closing words and give some parting words just about the campaign. Oh, shout out. Who is this post from out here in a private chat? I can't see. Let us know. I know
my Angelo's family.
Oh, yes. Shout out
That's
to y'all.
Huge.
We're posting We Need Black Teachers, because we know that Sister Maya was one of our greatest teachers out here.
I know that's right.
Best literary writers, linguistics folks, whatever you want to like. She was.
And if you didn't, well, now you know.
Shout out to Maya Angelou. We'll pour a little libations for that sister later, and just thank you for this post and supporting our campaign.
That's incredible.
That was dope. That got me a little chills. I got a little chills.
What a great way to end the show, though. That's amazing. Great note to end the show on. I just want to, leave everyone with these final words. If you are currently in the classroom, specifically if you are a Black or brown educator, make sure that you are reframing what education means for you and for your students, and encouraging them to enter this profession, because we need more people in the classroom that, like I said earlier, that are windows and mirrors, right? So be mindful of the messages that are being portrayed to our young people. And if you're not in the classroom and you want to be an ally, make sure that you visit our website, weneedblackteachers.com. Make sure that you're posting and sharing your story about how a Black teacher has impacted you. And if you've never had a Black teacher and you can't speak on that question personally, I just encourage you to elevate other people's stories, because that in itself is a way that we can change the narrative. And once you change narratives, you can start changing policies. So it starts with mindsets and attitudes and beliefs. So think about the opportunity that you have right now. I know there's so much that we need to change, but let's focus on changing the narrative first, and then we'll work on those policies.
Yes, and shout out Bibi. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you so much for your work on this campaign. To all our
thank
folks
you again for inviting me.
Yes, no, I'm hyped. I'm glad you came on. This was good. And for all my folks out there watching, please support the campaign today. It is not too late for you to post hashtag We Need Black Teachers. Post to your stories on IG, Facebook, Instagram. Please tweet out all of those great things. And again, grab a graphic if you don't want to post a story, or just hashtag We Need Black Teachers, and please tag the center. But thank you guys today for joining our campaign launch show. We appreciate you guys. We love you, and we'll see you all next Thursday, same time, same place.